This is not in opposition to dialing the phone like crazy.
I think that really shifts the sales dynamic when you're not just pounding it out, spending all your energy cold calling. Once you get your foot in the door, there's just so much more you can do.
What is going on, guys? We are Caleb and Mary Beth Lutz.
What up?
From Lutz Grove Sales and Marketing, and we are here today to talk about how to find customers and increase sales. In other words, get more revenue for your company. But it might not be in the way that you expect. On average, acquiring a new customer can be up to 25 times more expensive than retaining an existing one.
Yep.
We're actually going to come at you with a step-by-step system for attracting those customers, a lot of them from your existing customer base, and closing more deals. So we're going to dive right in.
The number of sources out there right now, and love them, and we've mentioned them in other videos, but if you're purely relying off of a Sales Genie, an Apollo, a Zoom Info, or whatever it is, you can be so much more targeted than that, is I think the simple thing that we want to get to you. And when you're talking to the people who need what you have to offer, your sales conversations are just about communicating clearly what you have and making it easy for people to buy from you and to stay buying from you. And so I think that really shifts the sales dynamic when you're not just pounding it out, spending all your energy cold calling, which both of us have done very effectively.
Yeah.
And there are times and places for that. But once you get your foot in the door, there's just so much more you can do. And so we want to really dive into that. I know you especially love talking about the ICP. So
yeah, and that's your ideal customer profile. And again, we want to mention this is not in opposition to dialing the phone like crazy. I mean, that's definitely not.
You want to do that.
Yes.
With the right people.
With the right people, 100%. There also is a time too where you're coming maybe into a new company, and like I did, where I had zero people actually built up. And so I had to dial the phone to build that up. So this is not against cold calling by any means whatsoever. Yes. This is just a little bit of a different perspective of finding the right people where you can spend your time more effectively with what you're doing, specifically with referrals. So step one that we're going to talk about is about defining your ideal customer profile, or your ICP. So when it comes to your ideal customer, you're going to look at things like demographics, pain points. It would be really good to write down 3 specific problems that your specific product actually solves. That was a huge one that helped us. I remember hearing, it's also called Ideal Customer Avatar, but my mom actually worked in advertising many years ago, and they literally on a whiteboard drew the specific woman that they were going after was a mom. She was in her 30s. She had 2 or 3 kids, and their particular product was specifically for her. So every decision that they made, that was who they were looking for. And so we're showing a little bit of a template on the screen here as well, so you can see just a basic of what that looks like. I wish I had the original one for my mom, but I don't. But at the end of the day, this is about knowing who your ideal customer is. It's also things like income brackets, where are they at, maybe where they live throughout the country, their occupation, all those things as well. So that's some basics on defining your ideal customer profile there. So.
And I do believe that that's so valuable because of step 2. When you are creating your value prop, you want it to be magnetic. You want it to be in the language of the people that you're talking to. And so if that's very broad and very general, some customers of ours are farmers. They talk really different than the other customers of ours who are high-end, freight brokers and doing this, or high-end saunas or whatever. Like those different dynamics that we have sold to in the past, they all speak a very different language. And so if you can identify who that is, what they care about, where they hang out, you can spend time with them, you can learn the lingo, and you can speak that language. When you do that, getting your value proposition is keeping it as simple as possible, as common speech as possible to those people. I've said this on other videos, but when I'm calling freight companies who need to coordinate it, I'm not doing some highfalutin pitch and some gotcha. I tell them exactly who I am, exactly why I'm calling. I'm saying, I've never worked with you before. I'm saying, my name's Caleb. I broker freight. I do it for such and such company nearby you. I've never met you before, but I wanted to find out more about your logistics and see if it could make sense to team up. And for the people who are in that dynamic, That's such a simple way to introduce it and to get into conversation. There's a lot more psychology behind that. But again, in general, speak their language, simplify what you're saying, and that gets you in the door.
Yeah, 100%. And in terms of finding those people, there's a lot of really good channels that are out there. So step 3 is choosing the right channel. So there's things like SEO content, social media like LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You could do paid ads like Google and Meta. There's partnerships, there's referrals. Think about where that person spends their time. And I say that to say that you may have a friend who goes, hey, I have a friend of mine and this is his phone number. Give him a call. Okay, that's a great referral. And we'll always take that 100%.
That's a lot of my customers.
Yeah, which is great.
As opposed to...
Maybe I'll stick with farmers, right? The main place farmers hang out is Facebook and YouTube. Those are the two biggest places. These guys are on there all the time. You don't want to run LinkedIn ads for a farmer. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. So choosing the right channels to be reaching out to people when it is a cold reach out is extremely important. Again, the value of a referral with a phone number or an email address from someone who's trusted, though, can't be overstated either.
Yes, and the easiest way to find out those places is to talk to your first customer or 2 or 10 or 100 and get to know them. Like, what do you do for fun? Where do you hang out? That's how we learned all those trends over time.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear below. Please comment, what is your biggest sales hurdle right now? Because you might see it in one of our next videos.
We also want to talk about creating your lead magnets and being able to capture leads as you go. Those are technical marketing terms. The simple way that I put it is stay on the give. If you can stay in the creative zone and you can create something valuable for everyone around you.
Yep.
A great example is actually our sales and marketing scripts and guides that we have available on our site.
Shameless plug.
You can access them, 0 cost to you. But what we do ask for you to trust us with is your email. And once you put in your email, you have access to our content, and then we can send you more content. But that is an exchange where then we're staying in conversation with those people. And so that's technically a lead magnet. You just identify that for your customers. For my freight people, so many times that's just, the name and a number, and I give them a discount on the first one. I say, hey, let's see what we can do. I'll ask, what's a trouble lane for you? Let me see if I can get something done for you there. So I'm either taking something off someone's plate that's valuable, or I'm adding something that's valuable to them. And that is such a great way to, once again, get your foot in the door.
And the great thing is, too, that in terms of the referral base, you creating something of value for that person, that's going to opt them to talk to other people that they know of who have that as well. So It is thinking long term. Even in the beginning, if it takes a little longer to make a guide or a webinar or something like that, or whatever it is, that's going to drive referrals in the end too, even with that initial cold touch as well.
That's good.
So, all right. So step 5 is going to be nurturing with automated email sequences. A great course that I actually took recently. If you go on YouTube, I can probably link it in the description here, but if you go on YouTube and you search Apollo, which is an automated email sequence company, but if you search Apollo Samantha McKenna email and you just put those words in there, she has like a 38-minute free video that goes over the basics of how to create an effective cold outreach email. It's the best that I've ever seen. But the basics of it is you're going to have a welcome connection point. She calls it show me you know me. And it's a basic of, you've clearly done some research. This isn't something where you're throwing in 300 email addresses and just sending it out to other people.
BCC the world.
I hate when I get those emails. And I know when I get those emails. I bet you do too. But it's show me you know me. And she has a whole section on how to do that. But at the end of the day, it's showing you know that person, the value that you provide, and just a call to action. Some really popular tools. I already mentioned Apollo, but MailChimp I've heard some good things about, and ConvertKit, is also really good as well. So basics there.
Love it. When you are doing this, and again, guys, there's a lot of pieces here, which is why prioritizing the leads that you're spending the most time with is so important. So that is step number 6. Gotta count the right number of fingers. I was throwing up 6, and that just wouldn't make sense.
Is this where we do the 6-7 thing that all the kids are doing? Or is that too soon?
Too soon?
Okay.
Step 6, step 7. Yes, we can do
6,
that.
7. Okay.
Okay, but to prioritize the lead, this is so easy for me. I just try to remember, go after what's hot.
Well, you
I
did.
wanted that moment here on video.
And he did. He did. He went after what was hot.
Another
right
way
here.
to say that is to chase the money, which also applies. I like this. But when you are going after leads and figuring out where to spend your time, I know some people who are elementary salespeople. And I remember being in this state where I would be like, all right, I got to hit 100 dials no matter what, 100 dials no matter what. And all I was doing was spending the time with the cold call, the list. And if I do enough work here, it's going to pay off. When in reality, that is needed at the beginning of your career.
Yes.
But once you identify people who are going to advocate for you, it matters so much more to spend 30 minutes on a call with a qualified lead, finding out what they need, why they need it,
Yep.
helping them understand why your product or service makes sense for them, and then finding out who else they know you can serve. That is prioritizing what's hot. That is chasing the money. And so there are so many strategies in terms of how to do that and still keep yourself in that active prospecting state and doing that smartly. But again, would just highly recommend that is a great conversation for you and a sales coach, whether a manager, whether an expert sales coach, whether someone you hire that you trust, like us. That's just such a valuable conversation of where do I spend my time once I've got these qualified leads coming in. So
Yeah. And we all have 168 hours in a week. We typically work 40 plus hours a week, depending on your role. And it's like every moment that you're spending doing something actually matters. So prioritizing is huge.
it does. And I guess one more tip that I'll do with that, your active customers are the hottest thing out there.
By far.
So spend the most time with them, ask them for referrals. And we've got multiple videos that already mention that.
Yeah.
And we'll keep talking about that because those are your people who, again, will give you the most return on investment.
And a great book on that is actually How to Win Customers and Keep Them for Life. I've just been thinking about that the whole time. So,
and my mind blew when I read that, and I'm like, this is what I've been taking 10 years to learn, and it's literally all right here. So extremely valuable.
All right, step number 7, master the sales conversation. So once you have done the reach out, whatever it is, whether it is a cold reach out when you're really building your book, or whether it's from a referral who's given you someone to reach out to, there's really a 3-step framework: discovery. And this is so high level, but getting to know what they actually want at the end of the day, providing a solution for what they want. I always say sales isn't about being pushy necessarily. It's about finding a need and filling it specifically for them and speaking their language as you do that, which we talked about. And then obviously going for the close. I never mind a nice assumptive close where you get to a point where you really have discovered everything makes sense, and you can throw in there, well, that's awesome. Well, hey, let's get this moving here today. What was your first and last name so we can put this on here? When I did advertising for contractors, I can't tell you how many times I did that. It was very assumptive. Sometimes we did have to do a little bit of looping to come back around, but hey, I was assumptive, and that's part of mastering the conversation. It's also moving the needle forward too. So
I will say with my first sales job, that seemed like such a foreign concept to me at first, and it became my strongest suit. And I was selling home security of all things.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
But it was literally just the conversation of, treating it like a gift, treating it like a no-brainer. This is helpful for you, and literally starting their application, and then just getting to the point where if you have to go over an uncomfortable bump or two, you can, but you're just mid-process with them because it makes sense. Anyway, very valuable as long as you learn to do that well, not deceptively, but well, and very upfront with people.
And please talk to a coach about that. I had a tremendous manager who taught me how to do that well.
Yes.
The point of saying that, super quick plug, at that point, if you've truly done a proper discovery, a lot of times people are waiting for what's next.
They need to be led.
They need to be led. So at that point, that is kind of taking the reins of me, like, here's what we're going to do. And so just want to throw that out, though. It's not being pushy. It's actually guiding the sales process effectively.
Yes.
So.
And being responsive. If they're like, hey, I actually need to know more.
Yes.
Then you respond accordingly. All of that said, again, we can cover that. And I believe we have in our objections video.
Oh, yes.
And our resource that is, again, free online. Great lead magnet. But we also want to mention, don't forget to upsell. Don't forget to cross-sell. Don't forget to retain and spend time investing in your people. You've already heard me say it in this video, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time here. But if it's truly 5 to 25 times more expensive to find a new customer than it is to keep your loyal customers, treat them so well. Find out what you can do to, again, be their best friend and help them take care of their problems, right? Fill their gaps.
Yep.
Okay.
So those were all 8 steps. And the final quick tip, as promised, is, drumroll, it's to come up with a quick KPI dashboard. And really what that means is key performance metrics. Mm-hmm. It's really good to just list essential metrics that you're keeping tabs on. So customer acquisition cost. How much does it cost to bring somebody new in? I'll tell you right now, if you can maximize a referral flow, your customer acquisition cost will go down significantly, which will help. But things like conversion rates, lifetime value, and churn. And you can do a simple spreadsheet, and there's a lot of different templates that are out there that you can see. We may pop one in here just for you to see a little bit of basics, but
yes,
KPIs cannot be overstated for how valuable they are.
I do have something to assert, an example on that. It's figuring out what moves the needle forward. Yeah. And I remember hearing McDonald's did this back in the day, where their only change from one year to the next was they had every rep close with, before this was all automated robots talking to you, they said, would you like fries with that order? And I forget the number of millions extra that produced over the following month, but it was staggering. Huh. And so a great KPI, one that almost always applies, how many times are you asking for the sale? Right?
Yeah.
How many times are you getting deep enough in conversation where you can ask for that sale? So that's one great example. There will be others, but
I think you should have done that one because that was money.
Boom.
Intended. Yeah.
Boom. There you go.
All right. So we'll go ahead and recap everything that we talked about today. So everything that we looked at in the 8-step system included step 1, which was to define your ideal customer profile. Then we looked at crafting a magnetic value proposition. We looked at choosing the right channels and the best ways to find where your ideal customer profile already spends their time. We looked at creating lead magnets and capturing leads and nurturing with automated email sequences. We looked at qualifying and prioritizing leads.
Keep it hot. Go after the money.
Yes, we looked at mastering the sales conversation, and we looked at upsell, cross-sell, and retaining those customers.
Would you like fries with your order?
And that quick KPI dashboard, finding what moves the needle forward as the bonus tip. So it has been an absolute pleasure being here with you today. We again would love to hear what your biggest sales hurdle is currently, because you might see a video that we can do to help you overcome that. We do please encourage you to like and subscribe. We are doing videos on a weekly basis. And again, our main focus here is to come in and help salespeople and whoever watches this to be most effective at whatever they're doing in whatever position they're in. So please check out the description as well. There are free PDF links to some of those resources that we saw as well.
There are.
I think that's it. Are we signing off?
We're signing off.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye.